And it's funny because why are we here today? I'm so excited. This is actually publishing. And if you read the preface, this is not an exit planning book. However, the run up to an exit more often than not requires not only securing existing value, but growing profits and making the purposeful link between profits and value. And that's what this book is about. And I didn't realize it at the time. I'm just so steeped in the concept of equity planning that that's the preface, that's the first, that's why we have the growth conference. And
so yeah, I agree with you, George, because I went through the BEI program, the Certified Exit Planning Program, John Brown's organization, right? So John breaks exit planning down into 7 steps, right? John has a 7-step process of doing a complete written exit plan, which is not what EPI does, right? They don't. So John's program teaches you how to do a full-blown written exit plan, but he has 7 steps. What I use, what you have in your book, and what we're doing with Clarity is basically the first 3 steps of his 7-step process, right? Because we're kind of measuring. Because his first step is what are your goals? What are your goals? Financial goals. Second step is what do you got? Measuring what you have. Then seeing if there's a difference, right? Looking at the gaps. And then the third step is maximizing business value. Mm-hmm. Okay. So your book and your program really fits nicely into the first part of their 7-step series. And then they go into business continuity planning, exit option analysis. Oh, they have 2 different exit options, internal, external exit options. And then the final is like a state and income tax plan. So
yeah. And the final, and very important, and the earlier we start that final step, the better. Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So Mike, those are steps, not just elements, but they are a flow of steps that one. Yeah. Okay.
It's a sequence, right? So obviously you start off with, okay, what are your goals, right? What is the business owner's goals? And we everyone starts with goals, right? I hope so. Everyone starts with where do you want to be? What are your goals? Okay, great. And then there's the second step is, okay, now that we know what you need and when you need it, right? What do you have today? And that gets into measuring their value today, looking at where it could be, looking at what they need to. So you're measuring the wealth gap, the value gap, profit gap. And that's what Clarity does. I mean, that's what the tool does.
Well, you just described chapters 1 and 2 of the Growth Driving Advisor. Yeah.
And then the third step in his process is undertaking steps to maximize business value, transferability. And that's also what you do. So.
Yeah.
And then you go from there, you go into, okay, now that we know what we need to do, but how about let's start with continuity planning. What if you don't make it? What if something happens to you? What are you doing now to, plan for, unforeseen events? Do you have any planning in place? So that's important.
So Mike, to pick up on that point, that is what BEI is announcing is an owner-focused planning. So what you just teased out is bigger than the business, right? And the business plays a critical part. But how do we have an owner-focused planning process that considers personal and professional goals and the business as a contributing asset to attaining those goals? And then how do we mitigate the risks inside the business, et cetera? Yeah, it's a good program.
Isn't there an event coming up either tomorrow or on Thursday with BEI? I have it both days. Is that right?
Yeah, tomorrow and Thursday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, tomorrow and Thursday is their first owner focused planning course, and I'm participating.
So it's 2 days, George. It's 2 days.
Yeah,
I can't make tomorrow, but I can make Thursday. Is that okay?
Sure. It's going to be good. Having never been through the course, I don't know if missing the first day will do.
Yeah, I can't make it. I can't make it tomorrow, but I can certainly make it on Thursday.
Awesome.
But I'll jump in. So are you speaking? Are you speaking? I think I saw you there. And are you going to be talking at that?
I am a student.
Oh, you're a student. So. Okay. I saw Larry. I saw your name there as well. Are you going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to do my best to attend as much of it as possible, but certainly tomorrow. But I think, George, just jump in on connecting the dots here so the community knows where this is going. So, you might have mentioned it already.
Yeah. So, BEI is a, a terrific organization. They have, they're large. They have a long history. And John Brown invented the profession of exit planning. Other guys have brought great thinking to the table, certainly. But John was the first guy a long time ago who coined the phrase, right? And so they are focused on wealth advisors principally. The BEI community is made up about approximately, this is to the best of my understanding, right, is made up about 50-50 with what we would call exit doers, guys like you, right? Men and women like you. And then exit, what we would think of as ones or actually twos, like super educated exit experts, but who are not going to actually write a plan, who are not going to, and are certainly not going to execute that plan. Now, that's an opportunity, right? The opportunity is to say, well, growth drivers, by and large, we are very, very heavily weighted for people who want to analyze the business, write the plan, and then lead execution of the plan. Right? We're not just super educated twos, we're threes, fours, and fives, right? And in the continuum of one being someone who just wants to talk about it, and five being a fractional CEO, right? There's a continuum there. And you guys all live in that 2 to 4 range. We have very few fractional CEOs. We have a lot of fractional CFOs, but that's a different animal. It's a different profession. So there's an opportunity to collaborate between the two communities. And I'm, as it stands right now, going to be teaching value growth or talking about value growth in the BEI community as part of their certification program, as part of the boot camp portion of their certification program. And we'll see where that goes. The John Brown is, and I'm really excited, John Brown is going to come to Florida, and not simply he's going to be there. He and I are going to do a joint talk and about owner-centric planning and transferable value. And John is going to participate in the conference. So he's going to be one of us in the workshops, in the community conversations. It's going to be terrific. So yeah, was that where you were headed with your question, Larry? Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Not everyone on this call will be in the 2-day program.
That's correct. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Some will, some. And I think sometimes we think of them as the Business Exit Institute when they're the Business Enterprise Institute, broadening their reach and scope of what they do and where they want to head, besides classically thinking of them as exit planners.
And I forgot, I failed to mention one point. John and his team are going to present exit planning as part of, I'm going to integrate that into the launch course going forward. So we'll have 1 hour on exit options, right? So that we as growth drivers, as we're at the front end, we're saying, okay, well, here are your exit options. There's M&A, there's management buyout, there's ESOP, et cetera. And so we have an understanding from a planning perspective, because that impacts both the gross value of the business and the net value, the transferable to the owner value of the business, depending on what you do. And that has tax implications, et cetera. But it's a terrific profession. It's a terrific perspective. And one that all business owners at some point, I always say somewhat tongue in cheek, you're either the business owner is going to care or their heirs and assigns are going to care, right? We all leave the business one day. And I'm a huge advocate, and I'll wave the book. Today's launch day. Wave the book around again. I'm a huge advocate for understanding all of this well as far in advance as possible. It's far better to have 10 years. Think about the resilience you're building into the business. Think about the growth that you'll unlock in the business, the risk that you're boiling out of the business by thinking about these things as far in advance as possible. 10 years is not a ridiculous time frame, right? 5 years is, some would argue that I think we would all agree that 3 years is the minimum to do it right. 5 years is better, right? So in the good, better, best, I'd say 3 years is good, 5 years is better, and longer than that is best. Because the market, because people, because, everything that we see with our clients, right? Or, like Sid and I went through last year, suddenly, your spouse is diagnosed with cancer. and your life changes, right? You can't help it. You're not like, hey, don't worry, honey. You go to the hospital, I'll be at work. For most of us, that's probably not the answer and it doesn't have to be the answer, right? And so if we can help people well in advance, again, whether you're thinking owner focused planning and we're thinking about insurance for, disability insurance, et cetera, it's good, better, best. So
George, how is Sid doing?
Great. She is doing great. She is strong. She's coming, she's an amazing human, and I'm incredibly blessed to have met her. And she is, she will always have some physical marks from the cancer. I won't overshare. She has some physical marks. Her back took a beating. The cancer just ate her spine. However, she's up and walking. We walk all over the place. She's happy. She's thriving. So
Great.
Thank you for asking, Mike. And
good to hear. I'm happy for you. I'm glad
we're incredibly fortunate, right? We're just lucky. And you know what, guys? That is the first thing she said when we got the diagnosis, and it had sunk in for not for long, for like an hour. She turned to me and she said, "We're incredibly lucky," and which is, let's think about that perspective. To be where we are with the resources that we have, the insurance to which she has access, and and the hospitals. I mean, we were able to just get in the car and drive to Harvard to Mass General and get literally the best doctor in the world on this disease as her doc. Incredibly lucky. So, but that's not what we're here to discuss. So Joe, you're getting your SEPA now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good for
I'm
you.
taking a precious few minutes out of my schedule.
Excellent.
4 hours sitting. Oh,
so
they
figured out they've done so I do look at the way they format their training, and I ask myself some questions because there's teasing the future. So
really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Enjoyed because I'm involved with a nonprofit, and have a very similar model. We're trying to train people to understand their spiritual gifts, whatever. But that whole interactive workshop, pre-recorded piece, and then having access to the speakers and in the format to ask additional questions, I think really works well, and it's very effective and efficient. And oftentimes efficiencies that we gain are oftentimes we lose effectiveness. So I've been pretty pleased with the format.
That's great. That's the reason we lead the growth. We offer the Growth Drive launch course as recordings. We also offer it at least once a quarter live webinar. And we always say, hey, listen, you can watch the recordings. You are welcome to come and also participate in the live class, even if it's only for a few classes where you really want to get wrap your brain around concepts. And of course, as you guys know, the community is available. I'm available. Larry's available. Steve's available. Mike's available. We all these questions can be answered by subject matter experts. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
How did I end up in the spotlight? Hey guys, if you don't mind, there's something I'd like to point out. You're gonna be seeing a steady stream all day of, hey, the book is live, the book is out, and I'm tremendously excited. It hit #1 in pre-release, which is fantastic. And I'm hoping with your help and the help of your networks, we can hit #1 again. And
George,
yeah,
how many are you at?
I'm sorry.
How many? I've gotten 5 people to sign to do the thing.
Awesome. Hey, Bob, your mic isn't quite picking you up. I think you said you have 5 people.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
I told you I was going to get you 5. I'll try and get you some more.
I love that, man, Bob. Thank you very much. That means a lot. So you've gone out to 5 of your close-ins and said, hey, man, check this out.
Well, actually, I sent them the link and I said, please do it. I need it before noon.
I like it.
When you're done. So, yeah, I've been on them. I started this morning after I got up this morning at 4:30. Just have to get up early, so I figured I'd be.
I'm sorry, Bob. I want to hear what you're saying, and we're picking you up like through a pillow.
I apologize.
No, that's it. There's no need to apologize. Darn microphones. It's Zoom.
Yeah, darn microphone. I'm not sure.
There we go.
Better now.
Yeah, that's better.
So, yeah, I started at 4:30 this morning, reaching out to people for you, George.
Thank you. Yeah, I saw your first note at 4:45. I was like, all right, there's a man after my own heart.
So,
only place to find more time, right?
Right. So, how many are you at now, George?
I'm sorry.
How many people do you have that have given you reference or reviews?
Yeah, well, I have a little under 9,000 followers on LinkedIn. So we're going to be rolling out on LinkedIn today. And then we have everyone in our community. and we have the several thousand readers of the blog post. So, I'm hoping that we can have an impact. And then there's some what professionals call earned media coming out that's going to be rolling out for the next series of weeks. So, and guys, there's a book that started out as me simply trying to put my IP down on paper. It's certainly taken on a life of its own. The compliments coming from you mean a lot. It's you hear the word humbling thrown around. It really is. I'm thrilled that there's value in this work. And if we can have an impact on your advisory businesses, that's huge. If we can and you will have an impact on your clients, that's the name of the game. Creating immortal businesses in the middle market, businesses that provide for their founders, that reward the risk that founders take, and that also provide well-paying, stable jobs and afford our stakeholders who may draw a paycheck from us or not, our stakeholders, to have the dignity of a well-paying job that they know they're doing well. I mean, that's the name of the game. And you guys are the change agents. You and your colleagues go out and say, hey, listen, maybe there's a different way. Maybe there's a better way. Have you tried some fresh ideas? Have you had a different set of eyes look at the problem? when your kid has a knot in their lace and they just can't figure out how to get it out, and you're like, well, let me look at it. Let's look at this knot. Let's figure out how to unsnarl it. And you're the ones who say, hey man, maybe there are things you're not doing. You're simply not aware that you could be doing, because that's often the case. It's not that business owners don't care. They care deeply. They simply they don't know what they don't know. And, that's one we use a lot. And they haven't yet come to grips with the fact that what got them here may not get them, Larry, right? What got you here may not get you there.
Yeah, from the wise words of Ed Wonke's mother.
Ed Wonke. Hey, good morning, Chad. How are you? Watch out, Chad. Orange is the new black.
Won't get you here. Yeah, got you here, won't get you there. I think when he was a kid, I think she was talking about something that he didn't do right.
Yeah.
But he's used it in business, and many of us have.
Yeah.
George, specifically, because what you sent out on email is a link that Bob Parent is talking about, went to the Alex Council community in that circle. Did you post it in our circle?
I did post it in our community. I've posted to LinkedIn. I've posted to Instagram. I've told anyone I will see, strangers on the street, hey, here's my card. Buy a book. Please leave a positive review. And we can have an impact, guys. And one of you, excuse me one sec, because this was such a huge compliment. So there, who do we respect the most in this space, right? The two guys we respect the most. There are a number, but in this specific space, there are two giants, right? These guys. This is why we use their books in our course. And one of you, there you go, right? There's some great tools in traction. There's some great tools in Vern's work in scaling up, also from Forbes' book. And if you don't have a copy or you haven't read it recently, it would behoove you to go back and look. The reason we have them in our course is there are specific aspects of those books that are fantastic. Love the core values exercise and Gino's vision traction organizer. I can throw darts at it as well, and I do. I love a lot of Vern's perspective, especially his chapter 4 on cash. He said, one of you guys called me, my phone rang, I pick it up, and one of you guys said something that these guys had actually told me, and I just didn't get it. I never thought that this book would be competitive with, not as popular as, but competitive with those two books. And one of your colleagues called, and I'm going to try to get him to write it online. In fact, I'm going to twist his arm. He said, you've written the third leg of the stool. You've written the book that makes scaling up and traction more actionable, right? You've addressed the personal aspect, right? The fact that we need to focus on the business owner as a person with a whole life, not just a business life. And you've defined the rocks. You said, let's talk about how important these rocks are, but these are the rocks, having an effective senior leadership team. And we've defined the best practice and that's a huge compliment. And when those guys declined to endorse the book with as absolute gentlemen, right? They're like, good stuff. Both were complimentary. However, no, thank you, because you're competing with us. You're coming to take our lunch money. And I'm sitting there fat, dumb, and stupid. saying, and what? No, it's just the 3 dimensions of growth that makes your stuff better. Well, it turns out that when you start adding, and they're right. And I with all respect, they are the giants, right? But so your colleague making that comparison was, it's deeply meaningful. And if we can have an impact on the middle market, and you guys know how I'm trying hard not to get on my soapbox, but again, if we can create immortal businesses, you are going to make money, which is great. This is a capitalist system. You are going to be compensated for your expertise. You're going to build better bigger practices, but our clients get a 10x, 20x return, right? This is an investment. And when they get a 20x return from the time and money they spend working on these problems, heck yes, right? Heck, that's more than equitable. So
George,
I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah, I was going to say step down here for a second. Thanks, well, I think Andy Weevil said, he looks at this as an EOS plus product in the fact that we can certainly get everybody organized around the 8 questions and right seats and the data and the IDS and the process and the traction, all those 6 components. But what it lacks is the ability to give proper input and prioritize where the whole premise is that all the ideas are sitting in the room. Well, if you're running a reasonably sized business, you're certainly going to have a few smart eggs. But where are you going for that good strategic direction? Mm-hmm. And I think this is what the format is. It allows us to really give some really good broken down, thought through conversation around what the priorities are, and getting those values tied back to what can be is really, really what I think as the owner, CEO, bringing that to the table in those meetings, especially in the quarterlies where they got a chance to reset their 90-day plans, it's really important. Not only they're being concise with it, but also bringing in some intelligible data to support what is best in class. So which the people in the room know no disservice to them, but they're just mired in the doing. And I think that's the one role that the CEO can truly play, is providing that insight wherever he gets the information. So I do see a very complementary process. So
you're a recovering EOS implementer. I know that Bob's an EOS. Yeah, he's a big fan of EOS. I'm a big fan of EOS and of scaling up, and of Vern's hardcore focus on cash and his great phrase, the right people doing the right things right. That's important stuff. Hey, there's something that you may not be aware of, and I'd like to share with you. If you go in the book and you hit this code, right, you will go to a web page. And let me show you guys what's there. So anybody who buys the book can just hit that code with their phone, and I'll share this in Circle. Many of you have access to these resources already, but if you can you see my screen? So you hit that code and it's going to take you to this page, and we have some bonus resources. So if you've bought the book, and if you're watching this video, you can get yourself subscribe to the free Clarity, what we call Lead Generator, but which is a great way to start the profit and value growth conversation with clients. You also have some tools we've made available. One is the checklist for Dimension 1. You can go in and get emailed to you a copy of the checklist of the objectives and key results, the OKRs, the growth driving objectives and key results for Dimension 1. We have a blank copy of Business Flow. It's a PDF. This is the central tracking document. This is our scorecard. How is the business flowing from week to week that we would use, that we would help our clients institute as the central document for their weekly meetings. We have a strategic plan, just an example of a Gantt chart. You guys have all seen it. Here are your growth driving objectives. Here are the sprints. Just trying to get people thinking about how to roll this out. The 3 dimensions pyramid, we all know and love. Growth drive process, right? Bob, I know you've been checking that out. Let's start with CEO clarity, then get team clarity, and move through the execution leadership system. And there's some bonus graphics in there. And then if someone has questions and wants to meet with us, great. That's actually a link to me if you want to meet with me. And then you can subscribe to the blog and our 3 latest blog posts. This, guys, by the way, apropos of nothing, I will load this tool into Circle, into the community and make it available to you guys. It's going to be in the premium space. So, but all of these, if someone gets the book, our mission is to invest business owners with the knowledge, tools, and support they need to increase capacity in the 3 dimensions of growth, right? Strategic capacity is the name of the game. Any of you got a book from me, it'll say on the inside, strategic capacity drives growth. We can't get there if I say, well, you have to pay me hundreds of dollars in order to have an impact. And so we want to make it just for a $30 book, you have access to some meaningful tools, to software, very valuable software, even though it's a slimmed down, but it's a very effective. You guys are using it right now, right? So a lot of value. It's a big $30.
George,
yes,
on that site.
Yes.
It's not on the website. It's only through the.
Yes, there's no link on the website to this. I left it with links to the website, but you don't have to go and try to find it. So
scroll to the tools down below. So when I click on business flow, I have to fill out a form. So you
click on it, you say, hey, where do you want to get it? Boom.
Thanks.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you get a PDF in your inbox and away you go. And it's
this is geared towards fellow colleagues. This isn't really geared towards business owners. Is that correct, George?
Yes and no. Yes and no. So that's a great question, Joe. That's a great question. So if I'm a CEO and I want to understand, like, okay, well, hey, Joe, if I hire you, what are we going to go through? You can give the CEO this book. In fact, one of your colleagues bought 10 for this exact purpose. He's like, here, you want to know what it's like to work with me? Read this book. And as you read this book, you're going to understand my perspective, my philosophy, and the methodology. You're going to see that it's easily intelligible, right? It's very approachable. That's one of the great things about the 3 dimensions of growth. It's intuitive, and you can try to go it alone. If and when you have questions, I'm here. Or I can help you. I'll be your co-pilot. I really highly recommend that you guys watch some footage of rally driving to understand how important the co-pilot is. Probably more important than the person steering. And I'll be your co-pilot, and we're gonna tame this beast, and we're gonna get you from your status quo, from where you are today, to where you want and need to be tomorrow. And so this is absolutely appropriate for leadership in a privately held business to read.
George, I would have jumped in. If we're saying, hey, if I give this to a business owner, they're not going to read the whole book. Well, chapter 2 alone, right? It's 27 pages, the 3 dimensions of business growth, links to the 24 questions, okay, the 8, which become a menu of the rocks that, George, you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Because when we sit with our clients, for them to think through what all the rocks might be, sometimes they need help. And now here we're bridging clarity and the results of clarity, using the clarity assessment directly as a menu for those rocks. And I think that's one of the aspects that's really tight here that maybe other systems don't have, is that connection between the assessment and becoming the menu for the rocks. And you get that in just that one chapter. So if I was thinking, hey, I give a book, they're not going to read the whole thing. But if I say, hey, this one chapter does the following for you, I could see that having value.
Yeah, and you can use it as excerpts from the book in your just send in that chapter 2, whatever excerpt, and say, okay, this is how it's going to go. It adds street credibility is what it does, right? So part of that being published gives you street credibility.
Thank you, George. Yeah, let me just comment, Steve, and then one second. I am going to publish an ebook that is an excerpt that is chapter 2 with a very simple preamble that you guys can have to use in your CEO, in your marketing, your CEO education. So that I'll commit to you. That's going to get done.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
Well, just a couple things. Every time you get up in your sandbox, I want to start leading a chant. You say but I've reserved myself. Number 2, I agree.
You see how red I just turned?
I agree with most of everything that's been said this morning. Just to reinforce, since we're proselytizing this morning, most of what's been said, at least the intent and the meaning, are in my little book that I recently published. And I just completed a exit planning 101 briefing, and growth drive there's 3 slides in that briefing that devoted to growth drive. And from my perspective, I've probably evolved a little bit, but I put very little distance between exit planning and growth drive. To me, they're intertwined, because we know from the data that most businesses aren't worth what the owner wants them to be or needs them to be. So hence the need for some growth. So I think it's an integral part of the exit planning process.
Thanks. Thank you, Steve. And you know what, guys, if we think about public companies, and we always have this like divide, like they're two different animals. Well, public companies they work hard on a target share value, right? And if you listen to their call, an investor call, our target per share price is, and here's why, and here's how, right? Why the heck? And think about the transparency there and the power of that transparency. Why the heck wouldn't that conversation apply to private businesses? We just have a smaller audience, but we're saying, listen, what's your target per share price? What are you talking about? Well, what's your target per share price? Because if we multiply your target price by the number of shares, we have a target value. Doesn't that apply? Isn't that your personal wealth we're talking about here? I wouldn't be that confrontational, or maybe I would in the right circumstances. But Steve, your point's a good one. They are inextricably, it's equity value planning. We need to plan and execute against a value for the business. And that value, by the way, is a waypoint. It is value. Don't view the business from the first person singular. You are part of the life of this business, and then you are going to leave. And it is going to be bigger and better and better and faster and stronger without you. It must be, because that is where the value of your life's work lives. And all right, I'm back on my soapbox.
I'm in dialogue with a business owner, and he's actually following your textbook, my textbook, that textbook, because he's failed once, and now he is reestablishing himself, and he's set himself a sight. So he's following Stephen Covey's. He's got begin with the end in mind.
Yep. So
he's basically, he knows, he wants to get to 10 million, and he's at 500K right now, but he's done it before. So, there's going to be growth drive applied to moving from here to there.
Right.
So I'm living a real world example of it currently.
Thanks, Steve. Chad, you look like you're deep in thought. What do you got?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm thinking hard. So I've got a client right now. I think I'd mentioned to you guys, I was a concrete contractor company a while back, and, we got the engagement going. We're about, 3 months into it, and, trying to follow the process here with Growth Drive as close as possible. I completely understand that the circle is for us. And let me just throw this out there, George, and to the rest of the crew. What would your thoughts be if I had this particular client sit in with me on one of the circle coffee clashes, and perhaps us just go around the room and give them, each of these guys a little pep talk, or maybe a testimonial, or I guess some of the features of Growth Drive?
Guys, what do you think? I know what my reaction is. What do you think?
Chad, to make sure I'm clear, this Tuesday morning, 9:30, have your client spend a few minutes engaged in conversation with our community?
Yeah, maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most.
Interesting. No one's ever brought that up before.
Chad, what would you hope that they would gain from attending?
Well, these guys are, they're all, pretty young guys, blue collar, just maybe some, I would say more than anything, Michael, maybe even a testimonial. And it may not have to be, Growth Drive specifically, but something along those lines of, make sure that you're following this process, right? Because I'm jamming it down their throat, trying to stay on track as much as I can. And I think a big part of what I would like to see come out of it is maybe we could have a discussion on leadership. Mm-hmm. I think if I could get into their head a little more around the leadership, I think that would be very beneficial.
Now, is that leadership stewarding a company forward, or is that developing a leadership team and managing a...
Well, see, so basically I am acting as their CEO at this point. I mean, I am running the show. And at some point, right, I'm going to turn this over. I mean, now I'm still not quite sure if any of the three guys, partners, are fit for that. Matter of fact, I know they're not. So, unless they are truly, committed to learning leadership skills, which is fine, I'm just not sure about them. I mean, but they're at 5 million now. The plan is to get them to about 25 to 30 million. and prepare to and sell.
Okay. That's fascinating.
Ed, you coming to the conference, the summit?
Yes, sir.
I unless you want to do that beforehand, we certainly could talk, grab a beer and have a group of us, because I'm hearing about three things here. One is for them to see a broader view of running their business and having our community help understand that it's not just the content of what's in the book or what we do, but all the experience from interacting with many businesses of all types. And what is the commonality in those businesses that go from a few million to that 20 million? And there are discipline commonalities that we could share.
Absolutely, Larry.
How they lead that business from a leadership standpoint, not from a project to project standpoint, but how they develop a real organization to move it forward in that disciplined way, consistent with the three dimensions of growth and the rocks that support doing that. That's an aspect as well. And two, how do you make that transition when they come more on board from you being that fractional CEO to them ready and owning it? So these are all things that, we could chat over coffee or beer or scotch.
All the above.
At the same time.
I have an idea. Could we
go ahead, Bob?
Make it...
Wait, Bob, we're having problems with your mic again. I don't know which mic is picking you up.
Bob, if you go in a peer group, go there.
What's that?
If you're going to go peer group, go there. Absolutely.
So my thought is, can we have Chad's, but have it, I apologize, gentlemen. Does that work better?
It's not. I don't know what microphone. It's almost like you've got. It's almost like your phone is in your pocket and picking up the audio.
Just like here.
If you hit next to the mute button, if you hit the up arrow, which microphone, that might solve it, because I definitely want to hear, Bob, you've got valuable input. I want to hear it.
Is that good now or not?
There we go.
Okay, I just put my phone down so it can't hear me. Okay. So my thought is, with Chad's idea, I like Chad's idea.
Well, did you move we just lost you again. Damn technology.
He's going under the table.
I'll go while Bob is fixing his mic. So, Chad, the axe that I would grind, I would take your lead. But, for example, I had a conversation this morning with some guy that's looking at a small business, and he does have a positive SDE, but we talked a little bit about the business. And I said, okay, he's got a positive SDE, but from what you've told me about his business, the multiple is 0. So that's a point to get across to your colleague or your clients, is that it doesn't matter. Well, it does, but it may not matter as much that you've got profit and revenue if the business isn't a transferable business.
Yeah.
It's still not valuable. Period.
That's right.
Bob, you back?
So I was on with you yesterday. There was no problem hearing you on Zoom yesterday.
I think it got worse, Bob.
We need to get a reader in.
Oh, he's gone. He's coming back.
So I'm wondering if Bob is saying, based on a couple of words, that is this an opportunity to bring in other clients, or is that dilute, Chad, what you want to do if we had 4 or 5 business owners who are in a similar place come on, or is that?
Yeah, no, I mean, either way. I mean, I think it would be, get more bang for our buck if we had, multiple clients or even, potential clients come on board and run through a few things.
Yeah. Yeah. So perhaps make them not feel like they're in the hot seat.
I just think that the format, I love the idea. I don't know that it falls into coffee Klatsch. I think we can do better than that and formulate an agenda that is not just a free flow of ideas. I don't know that that's the format. This is the format to do that. Just speaking for myself, I think this needs to be kind of a free flow format to get George off his soapbox and get the exercise he needs.
Let me mention
I do think there's value. I just don't know it's under this format of coffee Klatsch.
In the IEPA, not that I always endorse them, but nonetheless, they periodically do a session where business owners are invited. So I think, to Joe's point, perhaps that'd be a better thing to do, is we could, if it makes sense, have a separate thing where business owners are invited and we script it along the lines of what Joe just recommended here.
Well, I'll make a comment, and then Bob's back. You back, Bob?
Yeah. Can you hear me better now or not?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to make a quick comment, and then Bob, over to you. So 3 of the people who are going to be down in Fort Lauderdale, Silvana, John Yetman, and Ron Everett. Ron Everett has a business called Exit Boards. And Exit Boards, their business model, and I hope I'm doing it justice, is to say, hey, listen, I have Bob and Larry and Chad and Steve, and you guys all bring different expertise to the table. And we're going to invite a CEO to come in and say, okay, here's where I am and where I think I'm going. What's the feedback from this group, from this, this august group? And they spend, I don't know what the time period is, let's say an hour, just having a conversation. It's a relaxed conversation about from the legal, the CPA, the investment banker, the insurance perspective about things that the CEO might want to consider. And then, with the hope being that, of course, in over time, this CEO will avail themselves of some of this expertise. Not everyone at the table, of course. Anyway, but
yeah, George, I love that idea. I think it's healthy for a business owner to get different perspectives from different professions.
So, Bob, you were trying to make a point, please.
Well, and I appreciate your patience, gentlemen. So thank you for letting me come back on. So kind of getting back to Chad's point, man, I think it's kind of another problem.
Yeah.
Start up high and you
start up high and then you just die.
Well, damn.
There you are.
Speak louder, I guess. Yell.
So I'm not sure what it is, and I apologize, gentlemen.
No problem.
But what I would like the idea of having, I forget what does Tina call those, like, practice things? I forget what you call them.
Oh, like a test drive.
Yeah.
Beta.
I mean, I think that's great. And then you shoot everybody to do the now an interesting part of that, George, would be have them do the initial assessment at first.
Mm-hmm.
And then have them all show up, have it all be anonymous,
sure.
Or maybe you have.
Well, that's, it's interesting you say that, Bob, because we're going to workshop on Wednesday morning in Fort Lauderdale. That's a great idea. So you're suggesting have several business owners or senior leaders take Clarity One and then walk through what we're seeing and help them interpret their own report and highlight the things on which they might want to focus.
But have it be in a group setting.
There you are.
I think you're talking about
do it in a group
CEO workshop, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's incredibly powerful, Bob, and your microphone just fixed itself. So that, I'm a huge fan of that. And Chad, if that's something I can help you with, we can help you with. Glad to. And if you would like to set up a time to have this particular client have a round table of some of us, and if that's going to help them and you, we'll do it.
Well, not just help. I mean, I think it certainly would help, my client, but I'm just thinking from as our group, maybe use them as a, real life testimonial or a guinea pig.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they become a case, right? Yeah. And then we can establish the case goals, and then what we do. And over time, we could even track them and say, all right, well, here's, if we take this over, none of this happens overnight, right? But if we take this over time, here are the changes. It's a fascinating. That's one of the things we do, but we don't do enough of, is writing up. You guys are out there generating success, right? Every day. And how do we record those successes and then share them with the world? It highlights your expertise, your accomplishments, and the results that clients get when they work with you. And it also helps others learn from that's the power of the case-based learning. Right? Here was the problem. Here's what we tried. Here's what worked. Here's the outcome.
Steve, do you think that something like this would be beneficial for you in terms of helping, engage in this client you're talking about, or potential client?
It might be. I'll give that some thought. I've actually got a couple of guys. I've got one guy that I submitted a proposal to that he's probably not going to accept. Maybe it would do him some good to sit through something like this.
I think there's a added benefit of credibility that we're bigger than just ourselves as advisors. We're really part of a community that's connected to many other business owners. I have a IT husband and wife owners of an IT company, and I do believe they are, Chad, when I think about it, they're not a client yet. They should be in a month. They're going to start with Clarity, and then that they could be two people that would be good for this type of workshop or interaction. I don't know if we want to call it workshop, but that type where, Chad, you began this whole process.
Yeah.
Sure. Keep bringing people on. Hey, George, before we and I'm jumping to something else because it's coming up on 10:30, I see.
Yeah.
When we go and buy the book,
yes,
you need a review. That's what you need.
I do.
Not just buying the book. It's the review as well, right?
Yes, please. If you are disposed to say something nice, please do. And it does not have to be a treatise.
You need X amount, like today.
Yes, in a short period of time. Activity is king. So,
do you know when? Do you give you have to purchase it first, then you go?
Yes, you purchase it and then leave a review.
Okay.
And by the way, guys, I do not make much money on the book sales, so this is not a crazy land grab. But if we can popularize what we're doing, it's good for the community. It's good for each of you. It's good for all of us. And if you buy a copy, thank you very much. If you have a copy and leave a review, thank you very much. They do make, to Joe's point, it's absolutely, and to Larry's point, it's absolutely something you can give to either a center of influence or client or prospect to help them understand how you do what you do and why you are a different animal, right? What we do is really effective. It's proven. So
back to one of Larry's points, I generally frequently, when I'm talking to business owners, and sometimes even put it in my proposal, if I don't know it, I know a guy.
Yeah.
We're part of this community.
Yeah. And guys, I'm going to put the link to the book it's in Circle. If you're so inclined, please, Bob is doing this already. Please share it with your LinkedIn circle, share it with your your COIs, and let's the healthier our community is, the better it is for all of us. So, Mike, please.
I have a question quick before we leave. Steve, I saw your book. It's only available on Kindle. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't create a paperback or hard copy.
Yep.
Just wanted to know. I mean, I downloaded it to my Kindle, but
yeah.
I just have a hard copy of it.
It's actually on my list of things to do for the rest of the years. Although the year is kind of going away, but I'm going to add a few thousand words to it and then reissue it.
Awesome. Okay, guys, listen.
One last question to Larry, because him and I are baseball fans. Who do you like tonight? Phillies?
I'm rooting for the Phillies. I got a lot of Philly fan friends. Okay. Not that I spend my time rooting for them, right? But I'm just going to root for the Phillies.
Philadelphia is having a year, huh? And how about San Francisco losing again last night? What the heck, Bob?
Hey, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan.
My condolences.
On any given Sunday, man, they beat the best in the league. All right, guys, listen, this was super fun. Thank you for your support for the book. Thank you for being part of this community, and thanks for coming every week. These are great conversations. So thank you very much, guys.